And speaking of people with their passports being held, let's talk about the WWE's latest extravaganza from Saudi Arabia. SmackDown was just a show, but an extravaganza. Night of Champions, where there's just champions galore.
Yeah,
all up and down the card.
And it's at night. And they're in the dark. As I mentioned earlier, it's an odd-looking arena. I mean, it's massive, and that's the thing is, you can't really get a grip on how many people it seats, on how many people are there, on exactly what the extent of it is, because it just seems to. It's compared to other arenas, it's abnormally high. It has a giant wall on one side. I don't know what's going on there, but it's. Did they report any type of attendance figure? Has Thurston Howell weighed in on this? Maybe, but by the time that I set the scene for the first contest, we'll know. But they opened up with Cody and Orton for the King of the Ring final. And again, the crowd is live over there. Is it my imagination, or when they started doing this a few years ago, the people were a bit more reserved, weren't they? Or am I misremembering? Because I don't remember them and I know people would say, well, they hadn't seen it. Well, they had to see it enough for them to pay for it to be over there on television or whatever. So I'm just wondering if now people have loosened up more than they used to there.
I don't know. Obviously, WWE's been coming over there and people really like it, and it's embraced by the kingdom. So you're allowed to embrace it. You asked about the difference between this and the North Korea show. If you remember, those fans just sat there. Those fans, it was almost like synchronized fandom.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to do anything, or they were afraid to do anything, or they were only allowed to do what they were told. These people were dancing around and shit, so I don't think it's...
They're dancing and singing and moonwalking and all kinds of stuff. And that's when Cody and Orton, they started out locked up and did whatever, and the people were just chanting and waving and singing and jumping about to the point where they stopped the match and just stared at them so they could, and they're doing nothing and being ah! And then finally, this was refreshing to me because it was one-on-one. It was not a match where there was no disqualification, and they started out actually doing wrestling stuff. And they had a wrestling match. And they're two of the best guys in the business at it. And there was the tension, obviously. You never know, is Orton going to turn? He's already made threats. There's nothing he won't do. But at the same time, Orton was really the one that sold in this match. And it was brilliant because he hurt himself. In that, at one point when he gave Cody a superplex, boom, and he landed. They know he's got back problems. He hurt his back and he started selling his back. And that was brilliant because with where they're going in the finish, later on or at whatever point, Orton can make a claim, I hurt myself. That's, but nevertheless, nobody was cheating, but Cody worked the back, but it was forearms. It wasn't punches. He wasn't doing shit behind the referee's back, but he's being a competitive athlete. So nobody did anything in this out of character, something that person wouldn't do just for the sake of a goddamn, this is a cool move, to change people's perception of them. And Orton sells to me better than anybody his size in the business. He's fucking massive. And yet, he can sell and he conveys the pain and the facial expression. And, anyway, they did a number of big moves, 2 counts, things like that. Finally, the crossroads once, the RKO. The RKO once, they got 2 counts. But then Cody was in a spot where he was set up for the punt, and Orton was backing up for it. And then you could see on his face, and it wasn't like this, the goofiness of when they go out and they grab the belt, they got the belt drawn back, and then suddenly they have a pang of guilt. It was like he's waiting for Cody to get up there, and there he is, and he's thinking, should I? Goddamn, I don't want to kick his head in. Ah, fuck it, I'm going to. He waited just a second, and then Cody moved. And then Cody got the figure 4, and Orton turned it. And they did a big rubber-legged yay boo in the middle and went into a hockey fight. And this was, boom, really good. And then Orton gets a chair, and they're doing this there too, where a guy can bring a chair in the ring, and the referee, as long as he either asks for it politely or just grabs it back, it's not a disqualification. But nevertheless, while Lil Nate Charles Robinson is putting the chair out, Orton undoes the turnbuckle pad. And he tried to run Cody's head into it, but Cody blocked it. Boom, boom, they jockey for position. Orton goes for the RKO, and Cody pushes him into the buckle, into a crossroads 1, 2, 3. This was refreshing. Great babyface match where neither guy turned heel or did anything out of character. But at the same time, after Orton lost, as he was walking back, he was not looking happy. And you never know what might happen in the future. And Cody was cutting a promo, putting Orton over. And Orton was kind of looking back at him. And then Cody promised he's headed to SummerSlam to face either Punk or Cena, and he will get the ball back. So he better get the ball back at SummerSlam. Might he not, or elsewise that's going to be another kick in the balls.
He has to. And I don't want to spoil it now. We'll get to it later. He has to, and it can't be a finish like the finish they had on this show. It has to be a finish. But yeah, I think so, and I think this is a good match, and I think they even got me for a minute thinking, oh, maybe Orton will win this. What did you think of the turnbuckle spot?
Well, again, he said there wasn't anything he would stop at, but he did vacillate somewhat on kicking his head in. And Orton's the Viper. He's a little bit heelish. It's not out of character for him to do that as a babyface. What I would have loved for them to do, I see where they were going. Cody was working the lower back because the lower back was affected by the superplex. That's why I hate when these fucking indie morons give a guy a superplex and then just roll through and either pick him up and give him something else, or roll through and the guy that got superplex does something. But go, what the fuck are you doing? So I know they were working the lower back, but when Randy went for the RKO and Cody pushes him off, he had to turn and kind of hit his ribs, because I would have loved, I see they wanted to foil the RKO, but I would have loved if Cody could have jerked him around where he could have taken a flat back turnbuckle and sold it out into the crossroads. And that would have, to me, looked more painful and convincing. That's the only problem I had with the turnbuckle.
All right, well, good opening match. And now it's King Cody Rhodes. I don't know if he's going to wear that crown. Are they allowed to take the crown away? Or is it like that championship you win over there where you're not allowed to leave with it?
I don't know. But also now that would be unwieldy to sing King Cody Rhodes, King Cody Rhodes, King Cody Rhodes, King Cody Rhodes.
And Queen Brandy.
Now it's more Queen. Well, speaking of the Queens coming up on the King and Queen of the Ring, well, these weren't the Queens of the Ring. These were actually, it is the Queen of the Ring, Rhea Ripley. She's always going to be the queen, or possibly even the goddess of wrestling, the the ruler up above in the heavens of wrestling, Rhea Ripley. All praise to you, Goddess Rhea.
Jesus.
And Rochelle, our friend Raquel Rodriguez. See now, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez. See, it just rolls off the tongue. In a street fight. And besides, well, first of all the women, I mean, I know that the first show or two they went over there, they worked in sweatpants and sweatshirts because who has full body scuba suits on hand in a normal world when you're a pro wrestler? Now they've gotten, all the stuff custom made and everything, and it's lovely gear, but it is ridiculous in not only the scuba suits, what the fuck is wrong with those people over there, but also with Rhea Ripley and Raquel, they're both approximately the same height. They both got long black hair, and they were both wearing black from literally from head to toe and from shoulder to wrist and everything. You could see their hands and their faces if the hair was down. At some points, I'm thinking, does anybody in the cheap seats even know which one is which? Did you notice that when they're just all...
There are no cheap seats.
Well, okay, in the farther away places. But nevertheless, they were both very aggressive here. They laid their shit in. But it was a street fight, and the kendo sticks, and they fought on the desk and did the power bomb through the desk hood into the sound pit. And the first 2 or 3 minutes, I was like, okay, they're starting to go here. And then they started using the furniture and the stairs. And Rhea took her belt off and whipped her about 50 times. And then hit her with a razor's edge and a kick and got a 2 count. And then Rhea got her clover leaf on. So in the middle of them, just, again, there's sticks and bullshit laying around, and they're back to a wrestling hold. I wish they wouldn't. They're poisoning Saudi Arabia too. They'll think, well, they're supposed to have all this shit in wrestling. But then here, as Rhea got the clover leaf, Roxanne Perez, who also came into the ring covered from head to toe in black pleather, ran in and broke the hold in front of the referee because it's a street fight, no DQ. So then Rhea chased Roxanne around and bumped her on the floor and pulled out a garbage can and put it on Roxanne and kicked it. But then Raquel ran down and posted Rhea and ran her into the stairs and gave her a splash. 2 count. I said, there's more? And then they went back to the fucking match. Roxanne Perez disappeared. Apparently she was either killed or paralyzed. And the referee just let all, again, because it's a street fight, all this stuff goes on. And then they started the match again, and they set a table up across the top rope with it balanced in front of the turnbuckle, but across the top ropes so that they could both get up and balance on it. And then Raquel helped Rhea to the point where, because they don't want to fall off and break their fucking necks, right? So they're trying to balance and not fuck this up. They're not goddamn circus performers. But when Rhea is picking her up for the riptide, Raquel, as she's bent over, she had to reach back with her right hand and her right arm and put it up so that Rhea could hook it without throwing it. And then she gives her the riptide off the table. Oh, and one of the referees had to hold the edge of the table so that, and people on Twitter were fighting about it. Because some people said, look at the referee holding the table. And the other idiots were like, well, what do you expect him not to hold the table and they fall and hurt themselves? No, don't do this stupid shit. would be an idea, just a concept, just a thought to run by somebody. What next time, put a table up there, balance the two chairs, and bring your pet dog. And have the dog with a ball on top of the two chairs, and then you put the thing in your mouth that allows you to bite down on the edge of the chair, and you can balance it while flapping your wings, blah, blah, blah. I'm so sick of this shit. These two you could buy them in a wrestling match as two physically threatening individuals that could potentially do some damage to each other if they weren't trying to make them do goddamn Buster Keaton silent movie routine shit. Your thoughts?
I like Buster Keaton, so I'm not going to complain too much. The General, Steamboat Bill Jr., so many different things. But
yes,
I thought this was okay. I mean, again, it's the awkward dynamic of everyone being dressed head to toe. I don't even know why you just don't bring the women at that point. Roxanne Perez wasn't even wrestling. They flew her over to put on an outfit and run out for this. But I thought it was all right. I like, Rhea's, I think, the best there is. But I like Rhea and Raquel together. We've seen them multiple times over the years, probably since NXT, or maybe shortly after that. She's at least Rhea. She seems like someone who could beat Rhea.
Yes. And I'm not criticizing the talent's effort here. I'm criticizing the stuff they either feel they have to do or are asked to do or have been this whole fucking thing with now everybody's. That used to be the derogatory thing of some people who like wrestling, don't like wrestling, rather say, they're a bunch of stunt men. Well, now you have to be. Because what the fuck you're balancing on ladders and tables propped over fucking shit. But here's the problem, Brian, and I don't know it. I was one of those children, right?
What do you mean?
I was one of those kids.
What do you mean?
And I was one of those kids that goddamn had to analyze shit. And it didn't even start even by the time I discovered wrestling, I noticed this from the Batman fights. So this goes back to when I was 5, 6 years old. I noticed that wrestlers are better at making a fight look good than movie and television stuntmen. Because I loved the Western saloon fights and the Batman fights. And, look at the bump the heel took. And there's the chair and so I always studied those. Maybe it was meant to be. And by the time that I discovered wrestling, I realized, well, wait a minute. This is, over here. And then I started picking apart the stuntman's fight scenes, except for Robert Conrad in the Wild Wild West, who was probably the best television performer in a fucking fight scene during his era. But nevertheless, the stuntmen, Brian, this was the point of this, they're better at taking the bump off the balcony. In the Western, bam! The fucking heel, the outlaw that's trying to ambush the hero is up on a second or third floor there at Doc's office, and he's got the gun and he's pointing, he's waiting, and the hero shoots him and bam, and he takes the bump over the rail and into the dusty street. Now that was a bump I didn't see wrestlers taking. The stuntmen had shit or when they jump a motorcycle over something and leave the motorcycle in midair and they fly through the saloon window and come out the other side with a fucking muffler up their ass.
They had motorcycles in the West?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
The saloon window, yeah.
The stuntmen did all that shit just fine, but they couldn't fucking fight. And the wrestlers could fight, but back then they weren't taking bumps off the fucking balcony and jumping over Caesar's Palace fountain. So I think everybody should stick to their goddamn specialties. That's the moral of that story.
All right, well, that was that match, and there was more to come from this spectacular If you think about visiting, they got wonderful tourist packages, apparently, from Saudi Arabia.
And just make copies of your passport, just in case you need to have it tattooed on your ass, in case you need to prove. Okay, Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. They added this one. You know, with what we talked about the other day on the program, you know what I had to watch for. And by the way, the people love Sami. They love Sami. They love Sami Zayn more than they love Sammy Davis Jr. But you know what I was looking for, don't you hear? The story went out. Did we ever source that?
No, that was an off-air
rumor.
Yeah, we talked about that off air. I don't even think it was on air.
Oh, was it? We talked about it, so we had to keep an eye out there. Well, because I saw the story on the interweb after you had brought it up, so it's out there. Because I think they had somebody had responded. He was laughing at it. You know, people say that. But the story went out that Karrion Kross was allegedly either scared of, afraid of, reticent to, not enthused by taking bumps. And that may limit how far he could go in a business where people have to fall down on a regular basis when they're in the main events. And said, did you watch for this, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, that was the only reason to watch this match.
Well,
that was the only reason to watch this match.
I mean, because I made a few notes, but before I give you details, what was your impression when you came away from the match as to whether or not those rumors may have any validity?
Well, again, I don't think it was a fair sample because word got out before this match, so I think he took just fine the amount of bumps he took. He took fine bumps when he took bumps.
Well, in that case, then I think he's probably smarter than we thought, because he did get through this where the way that they worked the match, you wouldn't have noticed, right? But if you're going through the match just to write down, when and how this guy falls down in the course of a fucking 13-minute match, then but he is a very good psychologist, I got to say. Again, I'm not, if he does this good a job of hiding it all the time, more power to him.
Yeah, Jake wasn't taking bumps. I mean, there are plenty of people who learn how to work around having to do anything like that. Like bumps.
No, Jake was not going to have this match. No, but it depends on how old he was and where his head was at. But nevertheless, so Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is an underdog anyway. He likes to fight from underneath, so he gets a little flurry at the start. He excites the people, and then the heel usually cuts him off, and then he fights from underneath. So that was the story of this match, but there's nothing unusual there. But at 2 minutes, Karrion Kross took a safe bump over the top rope where I believe he got clotheslined, and he went over the top, landed on his feet, crumbled to the ground. And then they were fighting on the floor, and he was standing on his feet. Sami moonsaulted him. He caught Sami, and they went down, kind of a soft bump on the floor.
Yeah, you consider that a bump?
Well, there was several times that Kross went down with more force than this when he was suplexing Sami, but I don't consider it a bump when you're throwing the fucking guy and just happen to land, So we're only talking about actually, because I'm telling you, when he's throwing Sami with them fucking Saito suplexes, he hit the ground a couple of times, but we're not counting those. Let's see, number 3. He collapsed off the buckle and took I wrote ox bump. So that's an Ox Baker bump.
Ox Baker didn't take bumps.
Well, no, when Ox went down, it was a bump in what the boys used to say in stages. It was a stagey bump where part of him went down, then the next section, then the next section. So anyway, 1, the bump over the top. Okay, 2, The moonsault catch down. Okay. 3, collapse, ox bump. Okay. Number 4, flat back bump from a clothesline. Okay. Number 5, got an axe handle from Sami off the top to the head, took a bump. Boom. Okay. And then Sami's into his comeback now. And he got a blue thunder bomb. He took that blue thunder bomb. And then, what did they call it? The exploder, where Sami grabs him and belly to belly overheads the guy into the turnbuckle, where the guy lands like on the back of his head and his shoulders on the ground and into the turnbuckles. Well, he did that to Cross. And I wouldn't want to take that fucking thing. There's a lot of shit going on, but he was a little short. It looked like Cross caught the back of his head and then kind of went into the buckles. But the announcers had to say, don't think he got all of it. One of those type of deals. And then number 8 was a crumble bump from the fucking haluva kick in the corner. 1, 2, 3. So he took 8 bumps in 13 minutes, and 4 of them were somewhat suspect as to the force or velocity with which he hit the ground. He's pretty fucking good.
You know, this could become a new game for fans. You know, maybe they can
Yes.
count out loud. 1 bump. 2, like Suplex City for bumps.
I swear to God, if that became a thing, that would probably drive him out of his fucking mind. If people just, he takes a hip toss, 3.
And then sometimes, like, it's a bump where, like we talked about earlier, is a soft bump. Is it a bump? And then fans can fight with each other, you know, bump, no bump, bump, no bump. And if he becomes known as the bump guy, Tony will hire him.
Bump, no bump, bump, no bump. And Tony says, I got a bump.
Exactly.
But I mean, you know, that's so you weren't writing them down. So, but see, you got the impression, yeah, he's really upped his fucking game.
Yeah, he obviously heard the criticism, said, I'll do more bumps tonight. He did 8.
And can you think, I'm starting to like this guy more, because can you think of any time he's ever been thrown through a piece of furniture?
Off the top of my head, no. I'm sure he must have done something stupid in NXT. He was there for a while and he was on top. But I can't think of anything, no.
Well, there you go. More power to you, Carrion.
What do you think of the Carrion Cross push now? Everyone's been talking about him getting a better push, and then he goes over there and it was kind of a flat finish, don't you think?
Well, no. I mean, Sami is still a guy that you can put into main events, top positions. They love him. I'm sorry, I don't see on the big show in front of that crowd. They've already got some things on here that could be considered downers. They're not going to put crossover in that particular, spotlight venue, whatever.
All right. Well, that was the.
But
yes,
I was about to say, you know what was next, don't you?
No, actually, I don't remember.
The thing that you were going to say before I interrupted you. That was what was next.
What was next is what was next on the show. Let's see, how many matches is that now? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
What was next on the show? I think it's time for
the United States Heavyweight Championship to be decided. Is what it's time for.
I was going to say more women, but you're right.
And now here's a question: why is it that the Sheik could defend the U.S. title in Toronto, but it would have been just ridiculous at the time if Dewey Robertson had defended the Canadian heavyweight title in goddamn Erie, Pennsylvania?
Again, I don't know. It is a little weird when you have U.S. title changes in Saudi Arabia. This isn't the first time I think it's happened there. But
should this be a thing that's allowed to happen should any country's championship be put in a position where it can fall to someone on foreign soil? What about should the World of Sport title, the mid heavyweight title or whatever that Mike Marino, should that be put up for fucking auction over here in Cleveland? I think not. But we got a U.S. title match in Saudi Arabia. Solo versus Fatu. And I'm trying to think how, without insulting anyone too heavily, Solo isn't a great opponent for Fatu to have a great match, is he? There's two.
Is there anyone, respectfully, because I think he's been used well at times, is there anyone for Solo to have a great match with?
Well, maybe let's not throw great around, unnecessarily. Let's just say a better Fatu, I like as a heel, where he's with a younger, or not a younger, but a smaller, more agile baby face that does take bumps or whatever. There's a size difference, but as a baby face, Fatu still with even a wise ass fucking heel that's smaller and goddamn athletic. But Solo is kind of like, as we talked about before, a little bit, what do the kids say? The Timu Fatu? So Solo is a lot of punch and kick. And then Fatu, when he's fighting a guy that's like that, he's still taking his bumps and stuff, but he relies on a lot of punch and kick. They're not, they're a little too similar to be complementary, I think. But it was what it was. It's a match that existed on this date. And they got some heat, he got some heat on Fatu, he being Solo. And again, Fatu can fly around on the bumps and, the place he needs to be, and Solo's kind of flat-footed. But then finally, Jacob makes his comeback, and he's going to the top. And here comes J.C. Mateo, who waddles down. He runs in an awkward fashion. Were you watching the run-in closely here? Did you notice his gait?
I did not actually watch that, no.
He is a tubbier person.
I watched it, but I didn't pay attention to his gait, I guess.
Well, yes, you did not watch the specific manner in which he ran down there, but he drew the referee, and Tonga Loa's there and took Jacob off the top rope with the neck breaker, and Solo got a 2 count. And then Jacob's gonna spike him. Solo's gonna spike him. But Jacob ducked the spike and dropped Solo and then dove on the other heels and then did a Samoan drop on Solo, and then Mateo comes in and gets super kicked and then gets the ass in the face. And again, here, they have decided suddenly, I don't know how long ago it was, but not suddenly, but certainly recently, that if another guy that's not even connected to the match gets in the ring, as long as he just gets beat up and he doesn't hit anybody, they won't call the DQ. So now Jacob is beating up Mateo while the guy's in the ring and the referee's staring at it. And then he moonsaults Solo. Boom. And then a giant, an old, mean, smelly giant, pulls Jacob Fatu out on the floor. And what the fuck? And the announcers say, "Oh my God, this is..." And then it sounded to me like that they were just saying alternate versions of Tama Loa Loa Tonga Tonga Loa Tonga Tonga. What the fuck did they call him? No, I heard him. It's like
Tala Tonga.
Okay, it was like, well, that tall guy is the cousin of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa called Tala Tonga. I don't know what the fuck. But anyway, he was supposed to choke slam Jacob on the desk, but I don't know if their timing got off, but Jacob, we know, can jump pretty well, so I don't think it was that alone, but he barely got up over the top of the desk, and instead of a big slam, it was like a clump. And then he rolled him into the ring, and the referee's back has been turned through all of this with the distraction of the Loa Tonga Tonga Loa Loa Tonga Tonga Loa. And Solo spiked him 1, 2, 3, and we got a new champion. And again, I wrote down here at the bottom, way too much interference for too long on all these matches. It seems like every match of any consequence now has multiple people running in every company. And sooner or later, again, that leads to people going, I didn't know what was to come yet, but I wrote that then. But, and it goes on forever. It's like, again, I didn't know what was to come, but a match will just stop happening and a bunch of people not connected with it will start fighting with each other for a while. And then they started again.
Well, again, at least this one, not to justify it, at least it introduced someone new, a new character. The most boring giant ever. No, they introduced a new character here. Unlike the end, which was just, okay, they couldn't come up with a way for this match to end, so they're going to give us all of this.
And this guy also, he doesn't have a giant head.
He didn't.
I think that's gonna be problematic.
See, I think we got to see like a promo with him standing there in the ring because he didn't look gigantic, even though he is. The way he just came out there and, all in black stood at ringside with everyone, he wasn't coming across as like, oh my God, it's the biggest man I've ever seen. So
no, but it's because of his head. He's got a regular head. He needs a giant's head. Think about this. How many giants have a normal sized looking fucking head with a normal facial expression? You got to have some fucking, the old saying, beauty's only skin deep, but ugly is to the bone. You got to have some bones sticking out. You got to have Andre fucking head or goddamn Giant Singh head or something. And then you got a giant. He just a tall fucking guy.
Well, Hikuleo has finally arrived. We'll see where Tama Tonga is, but at least Tonga Loa is back, so we're guaranteed there'll be some hilarity in the weeks ahead. And now Jacob
Tonga Loa. Oh, wait a minute. That was Tonga Loa.
Yeah.
Instead of Tama Tonga.
That was the first time we've seen Tonga Loa since the War Games.
I mixed up my Tongas. Because I was thinking he's the other one.
They got to introduce someone that's just Tonga, don't they? Oh, he's the baddest of them all. Tonga.
Tonga.
Oh, 3 Tongas. Oh, my God.
3 Tonga. Well, that's when they call him by his first name and Mr. Wouldn't that be funny if fucking Tonga in island language was Mr.? Then he could be Mr. All right. Well, before we get to the main event, we got one more. This ain't going to take long. Seriously, at some point, Queen of the Ring, Jade Cargill versus Asuka. And in about 8 minutes, Jade hit her finish. And it had to be warm. It had to be warm in those pleather full body suits out there in that heat.
It can't be easy. Like MJF, we saw do that a few weeks ago where he went from his trunks, which he wrestles one of his 8 matches a year in, to the full body suit or the half body suit, whatever it is. It can't be easy if you're used to wrestling one way to all of a sudden, in terms of just breathing and everything, right? It can't be easy to all of a sudden be all covered up and work the same way.
Well, MJF's tribute to MVP, I don't think hampered him too bad. But because it's hot over there. The announcers made the point that it was very hot in the building. You see guys sweating, and I'm thinking they're from neck to wrist all the way down to feet because the tights go into the boots. That's It might, because they're custom-made, form-fitting outfits, it's not going to be like you're trying to wrestle wearing a goddamn flotation device. But at the same point, trying to sweat, cool off, just get a goddamn breeze of some description with the head to toe, because I didn't expose a lot of fucking flesh back when I was competing in the ring. You're a
pioneer when it comes to these outfits the women wear.
I need to, but I see my body needed to be covered up, unlike most of these girls. But But after you see, I wasn't doing the whole goddamn thing by myself. You know, I was in tag matches or handicap matches or whatever, or the manager match would last for 8 minutes or whatever. But if they're going out there trying to do a lot of shit in a hot, humid fucking building at high speed, they got to be dying. You're going to have to peel that shit off like the fucking safety wrapper on some Tylenol.
Did you see the promo?
Anyway.
Did you see the very emotional promo afterwards from Jade Cargill?
No, I saw she was speaking, and I didn't want to just have to break down and cry at that point. I knew it was going to bring tears to my eyes, so I couldn't face it. What did she say?
She's the one wrestler we've seen who, you know, again, she wasn't in the business. All of a sudden she was. There have been several times, even when she was a heel, like her daughter was in the crowd, where she would just get emotional. Like this all really meant something to her. It's nice to see. It's actually really nice to see. Like someone is
good.
Jade is the only one not completely jaded by the process.
Ah, I see what you did there. Well, at least now she's a babyface instead of being a heel with a cute little daughter. See, when she was a heel, if she'd have known how to conduct herself in a wrestling atmosphere, she would have then yanked a lollipop away from her daughter and committed her to her room or whatever.
I liked her as a heel with a stable of like stooges who just show you their ass. That was my favorite period of Jade Cargill, where she came out with women who would turn around and just bend over on the stage. That's still the baddies. I think that's what their name was.
The baddies.
The baddies.
I can't believe that TKO didn't take that and run with it. You know, copyright that and trademark it and sell T-shirts and membership cards. The baddies.
There's still time.
Well, they've missed the opportunity so far. And how bad can you get? That could be their new tagline for the whole WWE. How bad can you get? All righty then. We got to get to it because this way we can move past it. The main event of the evening. For the WWE, why do they call it the undisputed title when they also have a world championship on their pro? I would think the world champion is disputing the validity of the WWE title as being the number one title. They do it in every interview, don't they, Brian?
Right. It's not undisputed champion. It's undisputed WWE champion, right?
Well, but if the world champion says my title is the big title in the WWE, then he's disputing that the other guy's the champion of the WWE. See, there's loopholes here that need to be addressed.
Hey, listen, AEW has a world champion. They're about to have a unified champion who's not the world champion.
Who's not the world champion? Well, there's loopholes that need to be addressed. See, some people are disputing some undisputed things, and then some people are being disincluded from the unification. And they're instead of being unificated, they're being segregated. And goddamn, without even being masturbated. So,
well, once again,
something needs to be done.
We're in Saudi Arabia, the big main event.
Yes.
For Night of Champions, a match that they've been building up, and maybe have done a better job of building up than anything else recently with Cena. But of course, it's a main event in Saudi Arabia. John Cena versus CM Punk.
And the people were lit up to see it. And they did the chants. They were chanting for Punk before they played the music. And then, Halak Mussolini, if he was Saudi, is Punk an honorary Saudi now? Ich ein Berliner? Is he an Ich ein Saudier?
I mean, it's gotten out now. That whole little pretentious setup scene where the fan Muhammad in his WWE hat called him out, and of all the people Punk saw that, like Bruce Springsteen with Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
Punk saw Muhammad. He's like, you, who are you? I didn't mean it. I woke up in a bad mood. I didn't mean Saudi Arabia, even though I specifically said a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia. But I apologize to you and to everyone you know and to everyone who is here now and then.
But no, hold on. He apologized to the people of Saudi Arabia. But that because people can be different than because look, we have an evil government here in the United States, but there are some good people still here trying to fight against it. So you can insult the United States now, and
But he didn't. But when you
have a
say that, you're
point.
not insulting the people of Saudi Arabia. You were insulting the people who actually committed the murder. The people who supplied the blood to and the money. They're actually supplying the blood from the murders and the money from the oil fields that the people don't get the money from. So they are the blood money suppliers. So it's specifically the government.
Well, yeah. So he apologized to the people, did he not? Power to the people. Or did he apologize to, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Did he apologize to Muhammad and all the people of Saudi Arabia? Or
all of the people.
Well, all of the people. The cult of Cornette are the people, and none of them are the government.
He's apologizing to the government.
I apologize to Prince Mohammed Salamander over there.
Yeah, again, I think it's the modern day of wrestling, and the reality is WWE's business model is built around Saudi Arabia's money. Not built around it, but it's a thing that makes it profitable.
It's highly desirable.
TKO, a lot of their business strategy is built around Saudi money. So there's a lot that they don't want to fuck up anything with that relationship. And
so you're saying as soon as they got him over there and had his passport in their hands, they said, now here, you've got to go out and talk to a kid named Muhammad.
I think Punk knew for a long time that he was going to have to go over there and apologize. I think he just came out and did. I mean, Triple H afterwards said, oh, I'm so proud of him. He's grown so much as a person. And,
meanwhile, your mother-in-law is in the evil administration.
And again, it's one thing just, hey, I don't care. I want to work the show. I'll get a lot of money. But, it's when you actually go out and go to bat for a thought or a concept or something happening. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they got all that money. So I'm sorry. I mean, that's what's getting people a little up in arms about the thing, but it'll pass.
Do you think, is there an element of, am I ribbing myself now because I'm the only one that won't involved in that? Or is it like, well, God damn it, it's $5 million.
You have to wonder if it was something that was an option. Really? Hey, you want to come back? We don't know when the conversation happened. The conversation could have been Nick Khan talking to him when he first came back. You understand we're working Saudi Arabia. You'll have to eventually go there. You'll have to say you're sorry. Not just go there, you'll have to say you're sorry. Because the other thing is, they're not doing that just so he's not booed for one night. Just so they don't boo you that one time you're there, just please say you're sorry to everyone. No, they're doing that so they don't cut off Punk's head and throw it off the top of a building and then play soccer with it.
I don't think he would have been too upset if the people had decided to boo him and cheer Cena, because the match could have been just fine either way, but I think he wants to leave with his head still on his shoulders.
And again, a lot of fans, as people see it both ways, but again, Punk being so out in front on it is what makes it a Punk issue, but the bigger thing is if you have problems with Saudi Arabia, I'm not very happy about it. The sad reality is it's the future of wrestling with TKO. So much of beyond WWE, so much of their money comes from Saudi Arabia, so it's an issue bigger than Punk, but a lot of people make it just about Punk because, again, he makes himself part of the issue at times, and it clouds things, but it produced an interesting dynamic. He got him over again. They went from booing him to all of a sudden, he just said, I'm sorry, and they were ready to cheer.
Yeah, okay, that's all we were waiting on. And then they got the headline, Punk apologizes to Muhammad. But you know what they've always said, Brian?
Of all the fans. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
If you can't bring Punk to Muhammad, bring Muhammad to Punk.
Rock the Casbah?
Rock the Casbah. So the match, the people were lit up. They were chanting. They were the ole, ole, ole. That's everywhere. What the fuck? And they started slow again. They didn't need to rush because they already had the people and they had some time to put in. But also they were wrestling, and it was one-on-one again, allegedly with no disqualification. More on that in a moment. Punk did a little Terry Funk in the ropes at the start, but hey, on this one, Cena was working harder. He obviously, and just this is factual, is not the athlete that he was 20 years ago, but he was making some contact. He was working harder. They're doing more.
Those punches, though. He was throwing punches at Punk.
Yeah.
And Punk was doing all he could. I actually thought Punk was really good here because Punk is really good at looking genuinely exhausted and like he's in a fight. And he was moving his head to those punches that sometimes it was an open hand, sometimes it didn't come near his head. Yeah, but that's Cena. I guess you just got to accept it.
But I mean, you know, he was trying here. You can't say he was dogging it. He just, you know, that's where we're at. That's why there's 14 dates left or whatever. But anyway, at one point, I wrote, because I'm trying to figure out, I watched it a couple of times, then I kind of figured it out afterwards, because either Cena forgot to lift Punk, I said, or Punk is practicing to climb Mount Everest. And then about a minute later, they went back and Punk got the octopus on him, and then Cena hip tossed him off. So I'm thinking that Punk was trying to get the octopus on top of him, and Cena's like, "What the fuck are you doing up there?" Yeah. Because that's it. It was like Punk was climbing up on him, but Cena was just like bent over, like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, and Cena had to do his stuff. You know, you can't see him and all that stuff because people want to see that. But then Punk got to do his stuff and the elbow off the top, and Cena foiled to go to sleep and got an STF, and then Cena got an AA and Punk got an STF. So many initials. Where's the STP? But the thing is, this was, instead of just blandly saying this move and that move, it was a good back and forth match where everything made sense. It was a good world title match. It was probably the best John Cena match of this particular retirement run here, I would think.
I agree. I completely agree.
The people were going, this is awesome. They were getting big pops on the false finishes. When Cena hit the third attitude adjustment, got a 2 count. It was a big pop.
Yeah, you know, we said beforehand, too, how this match should be in the States. It should be in Chicago. But you can't take anything away from the crowd reactions this was getting over there.
No, they were there.
Yeah, no, it may not have been as good anywhere, actually, as it was there.
In Chicago, if they were properly motivated, might have given them a fucking, if they thought Punk was going to win it, they'd have been off the beam. But nevertheless, and Cena went out and got the title belt and brought it in, and the referee and the fans are, no, no, no. And he kind of looks and he tosses it out. And he goes for the AA, but Punk hits the go to sleep and gets a 2 count. And then they get up and boom, boom, boom. And now Cena's doing his thing where he hits the shoulder tackles off the ropes, and Punk drops down and Cena hits the referee with, I think it's Rudy Charles, whatever name they're calling him these days, with the shoulder tackle, and the referee goes down, rolls out on the floor. And I was like, oh shit. Because the only thing they can do when a match is not no DQ is knock the referee out, which I'm not opposed to referee dumps. Yeah, they feel better if they take one every.
It's a stand I don't hear too many wrestling professionals take.
Well, I think they should take one every day and more fiber. But in addition to the referee dumps, I'm not opposed to referee bumps. I have done a bunch of them as a booker. But the problem is now referee bumps have evolved into the referee has been placed in a fucking medically induced coma by a open-handed slap and is going to be down for 10 minutes until, you know, such time as he's needed again. And here we go. So Punk hits and by the way, I've loved this match up until this point. There's been a yeoman's job on everyone's part. And Cena is taking the referee out, and Punk hits the go to sleep and covers. There's no ref. And Punk gets up and looks like, where the fuck is this guy? And waves to the back, calling for another referee. Seth music. Oh, and here comes Seth Franklin Rollins and Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker all walking out. And down the entranceway, and the music is blaring in the entrance video. Brian, you're old enough to remember when the referee would get knocked down, it'd be because somebody jumped out of the way, he got drop kicked or whatever, the boom, and he goes down. And he's momentarily stunned long enough for the heel or the heel's compadre and cohort to cheat in some meaningful way while he's not looking and he's dazed. And then he's back up to his feet, and it's none the wiser when he looks around. That was basically the idea of knocking the referee down.
Correct.
But now they got to be in a goddamn coma. Even if you're not in the ring and you're dazed, the goddamn music is playing over the loudspeaker. What's the referee supposed to think unless he's completely slap dab unconscious, in which case some doctor needs to be bringing over a goddamn oxygen tank. And we'll come back to the referee in a second. They make the long music entrance. Everything has come to a halt. Nobody's in a hurry. It stops to focus on this. And Seth has time to reach out and then make his motion, his fist with his hand. So then his stooges run in and sick Punk, but Punk fights them off. Boom, boom, boom. And one guy goes this way, another guy goes that way, and then they end up on the floor. And he dives on them and overshot them. And I know they're shaped like bowling balls. But goddamn, I didn't think he had that much spring in his legs left, but he overshot him and almost landed on his head over the top of him. Then they picked him up and slammed him through the Arabic announce table, and there went Fubar, Makafaka Lube, and Slapco Fudd scurrying for their lives. And then Seth is standing in the ring with the briefcase. And is he going to cash in? And as he calls for another referee. Well, here comes little Nate, old Charles Robinson, running down the entranceway. One would have thought, again, the reason for urgency in cheating when the referee is down is because if you don't do something quick, certainly someone in the back is going to be alerted to send another referee down. So your clock is ticking when the first one goes down. Is it going to take 30 seconds? Is it going to take 40 seconds? Well, no, we've been a while. Here comes the next referee, and Cena stands up in the entranceway, bam, and wipes him out. So he's down. So then Cena and Seth start arguing with each other. Seth swings the briefcase at Cena. Cena ducks it and gives him the AA. But then Braun and Bronson, Breaker and Reed, let's call them Breaker and Reed. Breaker and Reed get in and start getting some heat on Cena. But then music plays. Am I exaggerating this, Brian?
Oh, no. And then the music.
Okay.
If you're talking about Sami, the music played for like 5 seconds. It was the most unnecessary playing of the music.
No. You've skipped somebody.
Oh.
The first music was Penta.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remember Penta?
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Cinderella story. Penta comes out and he gets in a fight with Braun Breaker on the rampway, the entranceway. And they're fighting. And then the music plays again, and there comes Sami within 5 seconds. And he gets on Braun, and they fight off to the side of the entrance where the Penta, who's been leveled before, can get back up and run across the stage and dive off the stage onto the floor, onto both of them. But now what do you say is going on in the ring? Well, Bronson Reed goes to the top and he's going to splash Cena. But Punk pushes Bronson Reed off. And Cena picks Reed up and gives him an AA. And then Cena and Punk are in the ring and everybody else is rolled out and left. And Paul is still standing around there. I think he was blown up from the trip down and he didn't want to leave and go back in case he had to sit down and rest halfway. But everybody else that ran out there as magically has all disappeared. And now Punk and Cena are in the ring. And Punk offers his hand for a handshake, and Cena takes it and pulls him in for the hug, and the people are like, yay! And then Cena makes the face, like the face he made with Cody.
Right into the camera.
right into the camera. He goes for the gut kick, and Punk catches it and starts to pick him up for the AA. And there's Seth with the briefcase. Suddenly, where the fuck he came from, boom, hits him with the briefcase in the head, gives him the stomp, rolls out of the ring. Cena covers, and the referee, the first referee, Rudy Charles, who was bumped with a shoulder tackle 7 minutes ago, rolls right in and counts 1, 2, 3. So I thought it was a real good match until it became sports entertainment instead of wrestling. And then everybody came out and you just lost the fucking plot. And then they went back to it, and there it was. And that's the best that I'm sorry, but whenever I used to figure a finish, regardless of what company it was from or where it was, if you can't account for everybody's whereabouts and participation in a realistic manner in front of the live audience in a particular period of time, then either make an adjustment where you can or don't do it. It was 7 minutes for a shoulder tackle and all this shit. But that's what they expect these days because they're training people. This is what wrestling is supposed to look like. So it was very exciting, but it hurts me that, is this the way the musicians feel about that auto-tune thing where Aunt Fanny can sing like goddamn Bette Midler if she wants to?
No, I don't think this is.
Or that you just don't have to be good at it anymore?
You know, again, it's become very standard, but I have a feeling people are going to get burned out if they aren't already, and some of us are, by these non-finishes that include big moments. Triple H is good at giving you big moments, but you see more and more holes in everything he actually puts together the more you watch it. And I thought that was the most disappointing thing.
And unfortunately, for all the good that we say about Paul E., he is a big moment with holes guy a lot of times.
That's his specialty.
So you got a lot of big moments, you got a lot of holes.
But again, I just didn't think, nothing against Penta because I don't mind him, but when he showed up, it was like him? He's the one to come out here to make the save for Punk, I guess? Sami, it makes sense. They've been aligned a little bit, and they both hate this group of Heymans.
Well, yeah, but just on a level of the way that people are viewed, Penta was the odd duck. Right. It was like, what? I know they're pushing him, but it's the main event, world title match on Cena's retirement tour. Maybe let's just leave that one alone.
And again, it was almost 10 minutes of interference and non-finishes. Not even non-finish. Interferences.
It was a different fucking match for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Here now, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a snack. We'll come back in 5 minutes when the match we were watching starts back up. What? I don't know. But yeah. But at the same time, goddamn, they made a bunch of $1 million on it, and everybody is professional. I assume, except I didn't watch Jade and who's
Asuka.
he? What's he?
Asuka.
Yeah. But they're, I'm sure they did fine. Nobody was almost killed. We got that going for us, but it was better than your average standard 5-match kind of blah pay-per-view because of the 2 big matches. And coincidentally, they were 2 actual singles matches that meant something between stars, but the one finish was so gimmicked up, it was a little disappointing because they were doing so well. And again, I know, even if it's Cena and Punk, I don't know whether either one of them would have just come to with the idea, even Cena for Smoke and Mirrors, come with the idea of let's just run 17 people in it to finish this thing and take 5 or 6 minutes and then get back on track. I think that was probably an office influence.
Heyman, especially, like you said. But that was
Hey, man!
WWE's latest excursion to Saudi Arabia, and good to hear that the plane was allowed to leave the runway this time. But of course, Jim, WWE, all those wrestlers, all those scared staff members.
Yep.
So happy to be back on American ground. So happy.
Probably thinking about their future.
Thinking about their future. I was going to talk about thinking about the nap, but you're right. The future.
Oh, you told me about the future earlier.
You know, I just started thinking about how I felt after the pay-per-view. And curveball, wild card, Jim, if at all possible, I'd love to talk about the big nap that everyone had to take, the big sleep after getting home.
The big sleep.
After they kissed the ground, happy they're back in the States. Everyone needed a good night's sleep, and we know where everyone can get one.
Well, you know what? Most of the time when you're feared for your safety and your life and you get away from that and you get back home, you just want to lay down on a comfortable mattress. You don't want to sleep with the fishes. You want to sleep with Helix. That's what you want to do because, folks, our friends at Helix, they got a big deal going on right now. And Helix, of course, is pronounced Helix and spelled Helix. Just think about Felix, but with an H. Get the F out. And right now, the 4th of July sale means you are going to save more money than you're ever going to save on these fine mattresses. This is the biggest discount they've ever given. And Brian, you know the drill. We've been talking about Helix for years now. You sleep on them. I sleep on them. Some people sleep with them. That's how they have more Helixes. And then the line keeps going. But nevertheless, the people love them. You go to helixsleep.com, you get on the website, and you answer a few simple questions about what type of mattress you're looking for. Let's say, for example, you sleep and you sweat when you sleep. Well, if it's some kind of personal issue you're dwelling on, we can't really help you. But if you're just hot-natured, they got a mattress that'll cool you down. Or if you like to sleep on a firm surface or a soft surface. Or let's say that you've got a severe case of scoliosis and you're shaped like a question mark. They have curved mattresses available.
Well,
have you seen these, Brian?
I don't know anything about that. Let's not promise things that don't exist.
It looks like an S, and that way when you're all hunched over, you still got a place to fucking sleep.
I don't think that's how it works. And of course, visit your chiropractor or whoever works on your back, ladies and gentlemen. But for those of you looking for a good night's sleep, you and of course your family, you got to take care of your family.
You got to bring the whole family on the same mattress. Just bring them on. There's room for everybody. Have them bounce up and down on it a couple of times. Don't bring any jelly sandwiches.
Well, they will fall in love with it, and maybe they'll want their own. And of course, we have such a great deal to offer the listeners this time of year. Right now, to get a brand new mattress.
That's right. 27% off site-wide for the 4th of July sale. And I'm telling you, the 4th of July is coming up. And your old mattresses need to be thrown out. Make it every 4th of July you get a new mattress. That way you just throw out the bag of dust and dust mites and potential bed bugs and crumbs and granny's farts and all kinds of dog flatulence and various effluvia that has come from your pets. You get that out of your house. You get a brand new mattress. You get 27% off site-wide at helixsleep.com. for the 4th of July sale when you use the code JCE. That's helixsleep.com/JCE, 27% off. And again, do you snore? Or more importantly, does some no good, sorry, gum bumping sack of snake feces in your house snore and keep you awake at night? Well, get one of the mattresses that improves snoring. Or back pain. Let's say you got back pain, you get one of the mattresses that helps with back pain. Or let's say you want to cause some back pain. If there's somebody you don't like Get them the opposite kind of mattress that they would like, and if they sleep on it, they will get back pain.
No, let's
and
not.
You'll be the cause.
No, let's not say that any of these mattresses will cause.
Give your mother-in-law with a slip disc a really soft mattress to sleep on, and she will be miserable.
Give her an Advil, and of course, focus on your own sleep.
Well, give her the Advil for the first. Give her the Advil for the first couple of nights. She's got the soft mattress. She won't notice it, and then it'll already be broken in by the time she realizes that she's bent up in the night like a roly-poly bug. Well, there you go. Well, Brian, you can get them for all the neighbors, too, that you don't like. Just see who has back pain and go from there. You can really screw people up.
Well, let's focus on doing good things for yourself and your family and your friends and the people that you're going to actually be spending money on, ladies and gentlemen, with a great mattress. Yes. We endorse it. We have them here at Last Manor. They have them at Castle Cornette. Have them wherever the hell you're sleeping. Helix Sleep. Jim, tell them.
Yeah. Get several of them, especially if some members of your family are still sleeping around. Go to helixsleep.com/JCE, 27% off site-wide for the 4th of July sale. Do it quickly. Void where prohibited by grumpy people keeping you awake.
We love them. Helix Sleep.